What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, Bucko Boy, back at it again, or rather for the first time, coming to you guys to talk about a rather controversial game. That's right, you guessed it, Gotham Knights. Now I know what you may be thinking. With the game being so close to its release, what really is left to be said about this game? And well, not much. But for content purposes, I will be giving you a random's perspective and opinion that you never even asked for. So let's get into it. From the time the world premiere trailer dropped back in August of 2020 till this point, I've been keeping a close eye on the Gotham Knights community. And oh boy! Do we have a divided group of people? So the way I see it is, the community is divided into three main areas. You have one group where people are just absolutely shitting on the game. You know, the people that dislike everything they've seen and checked out when they heard Batman wasn't in the game. Then you got people hyping up the game, gassing it up, thinking that the game is overhated and that it looks good. And then you have the people who are somewhat in the middle. Most likely not super pleased with what they've seen or impressed, but are still excited about having a new Batman game and are willing to try out the game. You know, don't knock it till you try it, sonny. Anyways, I do think that there are more people who are excited for this game's release than are not. And let's be real, people who are still on the fence about this game are most likely going to cave in sooner or later. And I'll get into the reasoning of why that may be the case in a second. But to give you my thoughts on where I stand right now is, I am in the middle. Like most people, my hype for the game peaked back in 2020 with the reveal trailer. And ever since then, my hype has significantly lessened. With more and more that's been shown, my hype has just kind of died out. It's not that I'm giving up on the game, but in my opinion, the game looks rough. And despite my overwhelming concerns, I'm still going to purchase this game. Now why? Why would I do that? Because I'm a big Batman fan in general, and it's been roughly 7 years. It has been 7 years since we've experienced an open world Batman related game, so I'm gonna give this game a fair shot. And although my initial impressions have been rather negative, I do think that there are things to actually get excited about. So without further ado, let's get into those positives so people don't think I am just shitting on this game. Number 1, city, good. Not only does the city look fantastic, but it will be the biggest in-game interpretation of Gotham that we've ever had. I truly do think the city looks beautiful, with that fog rolling over Gotham and those neon lights shining right through that fog. Not to mention the different types of architecture that each borough will have. I think that they have executed the look of Gotham very well. Not a huge problem, but I think the last thing that the game is missing is population density. From what I've seen in the earlier trailers, it did look like that there was a good amount of population density, that people were driving around and you were having to avoid traffic, you know, specifically in the Mr. Freeze video. But with the recent trailers that have come out, I feel like I haven't seen as much of that traffic going on. My hope is that depending on where you're at in the story, maybe there's some specific reason of why there's not as many people out. Maybe it's nighttime, people don't want to go outside, who knows. But overall, city, good. Secondly, story, good. I am excited to see what Warner Brothers Montreal is going to do with the Court of Owls story. I'm not a huge New 52 fan, but I do like the Court of the Owls story, a very old secret society that's been controlling Gotham for centuries, ran by Gotham's wealthiest, working underground in the shadows, under Batman's nose. It's hard to believe, but that's what makes the story so intriguing, because they're so deep-rooted into Gotham's history, apparently. In the comics, they give Batman a pretty good run for his money, and they come very close to killing him, but you know, Batman, he doesn't do death very well, but WB Montreal has to switch things up. Batman's dead, but we'll see how it pans out. I can't lie, the IGN 400 Years of Gotham coverage, that trailer is one of the few that actually made me intrigued and actually made me feel something, man. want to feel something. It got me to believe that WB Montreal could possibly make a good spin on the story of the Court of the Owls. So I'll admit, I do have hope for the story. Alright, this is where things get exciting, and where I might lose some people. Yes, we're going to be talking about my personal gripes. And before I get attacked by either side, the diehards and the people who just want to watch the game burn, let me share this revolutionary concept. Everything is subject to criticism, and criticism isn't always linked to hate. As it relates to new game releases, it's very black and white. You either like something or you hate it. I see very little of the people who are in between. The very few healthy skeptics out there get overshadowed by the people who are either all in or all out. And nowadays, all I see is, you're a hater, or holy shit, stop it. Alright, without further ado, let's start hating on this game. For the record, I will be comparing Gotham Knights to the Arkham trilogy, more specifically Arkham Knight, and Spider-Man as well, considering they are the gold standard for superhero free-roaming video games. I know people are going to be like,
but Bucko Boy, Gotham Knights has RPG elements, and they're not even in the same universe.
I shouldn't have to explain the reasons as to why I'm comparing these superhero big-budget AAA video games. So, with that out of the way, this game looks like a mobile game. It's a joke, but I don't think it looks that bad, but it definitely doesn't look like next gen. I don't think this game visually holds a candle to Spider-Man, hell, even Arkham Knight. I mean, Arkham Knight is a 7-year-old game and it still competes with some other AAA titles visually. There's no way Gotham Knights can't efficiently run on last gen hardware. Spider-Man ran just fine on the PS4. I mean, but it still was functional. You could still enjoy the game for what it was. And to market it as a Xbox One and PS4 title and then take it away so late in development to, quote, provide players with the best possible gameplay experience.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Alright, moving away from looks, let's talk about I gotta start with this dialogue because holy shit, it is so bad. Subjectively, this is all my opinion, right? But some lines are just, for example,
come to watch the show, Red Hood.
Nah, I'm just here to kick your ass.
Oh, scary. Oh, shiver my timbers. Shut up, man!
Nah, I'm just here to kick your ass.
Hey, but dude, that's like a really Red Hood thing to say.
that's gotta be the most generic, quote-unquote, badass quip to exist. But let's move on. And you know exactly what's coming next.
The average temperature of something lights on fire is between 424 and 475 Fahrenheit.
Hey, look up here! I'm a professor of setting stuff on fire! Smashy, smashy, smash, smash! Smashy!
You're a f***ing idiot. This needs to stop. Now!
You burn now, grass. No one will mow you ever again.
Oh, God. Oh. Am I gonna have to put a cringe suit on every time I listen to dialogue in this game? Yes. The problem is, it doesn't just stop with dumb criminals. It's a pattern that shows up between important characters within the story. Our heroes are supposed to be going through a traumatic experience with the loss of Batman, their mentor, and for Dick and Jason, really the loss of their father. They've released these character building trailers that try to evoke some kind of emotion. It just feels so forced and corny and like overly dramatic, and I don't know if it's just the character models, the voice acting, the writing, and maybe it's a combination of all of them really, but it's not doing the job that they're aiming for.
Balance because they're dealing with a lot of trauma and a big loss.
Stop it! You wanted us to work this together.
Despite all my gripes about dialogue, I can look past it. What I can't look past is
Traversal!
I'm gonna keep this short. Spider-Man web slings through the city. and then you have Batman gliding through the city. Both means of traversal are iconic for each of those characters, and traversal for any free roaming video game is a huge part of its identity. I would argue that traversal gives a lot of open world video games a good portion of their replayability value. Sometimes I play Arkham Knight just to feel like Batman and glide around the city. And the same goes for Spider-Man. Now, unlike Spider-Man and Batman, means of traversal for a character like Nightwing or even Red Hood, those are a bit obscure. Whenever we see Nightwing or Red Hood get around the city, whether it be in comics or animated films, they usually get around by using motorcycles, jumping from rooftop to rooftop, or using their grapple hooks. Of course, there have been other exceptions of means of getting around the city for both of these characters, mainly Nightwing, but I totally understand how difficult it would be to make something that would stick to the character and make you feel like that character. I would have personally much rather have seen Nightwing's glider suit, and for Red Hood, I don't know, man. I don't know what you do with that guy. Just, put him on a motorcycle and grapple hook around the city. Call it a day. And last but not least on the list is... Before I get into this, let me just get Red Hood out of the way, because this between his traversal and combat, this man cannot catch a break. I realize his combat style is supposed to be in the same likeness as like a heavy, slow brute, but he looks and just plays so ugly. What bothers me the most is probably his grabbing mechanic. I know that was quick, but I will play it a couple more times so you can see how awkward the grabbing mechanic really looks. Right there. Both characters will set into a default stance once the grabbing animation is finished. They both freeze and stand still, which is then followed by this incredible throw. Red Hood's kit is super flashy and looks like it does absolutely no damage.
He fires non-lethal rounds that still do a lot of damage.
Huh?
But don't worry about that, guys, because Jeff says
it's a pretty good time.
Is it, Jeff? Is it really supposed to be a pretty good time? Because it doesn't look like a pretty good time. It looks pretty bad to me. Like the non-lethal rounds that pass through the enemy. That's not how non-lethal rounds work. And then we're going to ignore that non-lethal kick right off the side of the roof. But putting Red Hood aside, combat in general has been disappointing. It's been a struggle to identify the main cause of why the combat looks so off to me, but from watching clips over and over again, I think I've come up with a few reasons as to why. I think the reason that some people refer to combat as clunky is because animations for both enemies and heroes are really slow and drawn out. Although some animations do look pretty cool, they're really slow. From striking to evading, it's kind of all the same, and enemies seem to not want to fight back. The lack of combo flow or a significant dodging mechanic makes combat feel broken up. Combo flow was really nice to have in the Arkham games because after building up some momentum, it kind of gave some weight to those strikes. And in Spider-Man, the dodging mechanic rewarded you with a slowdown animation, and with suit mods, you could take advantage of that slow motion to continue to beat the living shit out of your enemies. Not to mention that combat was fun and fast-paced. Now were both of these combat formulas easy to master? Yes, extremely, but it didn't make it any less fun. The combat was fully fleshed out in both games, and looking at Gotham Knights, I don't think I can say the same.
But dude, how can you say that? You haven't even played the game.
Such a lameness.
Gotham Knights does seem to appear to have some type of parry mechanic. In this Nightwing clip, it shows him evading an attack and then striking right after. It kind of has this cheap whooshing effect that follows him as he moves, and then he uses the same attack afterwards. I will say that Gotham Knights is bringing innovation to the combat. It's mixing things up with light and heavy attacks, unique abilities for each of their characters, and a new skill tree system. However, I fear that that innovation might not matter in the end if combat doesn't feel smooth to play. And aside from the overall main issues with combat, I don't have too much of a problem with how Nightwing, Batgirl, and Robin play. I think that their combat is passable, but it doesn't look amazing. So in conclusion, we talked about what I found were some good traits, some positives about the game, mainly being city and story, hopefully. And then we covered some of the bad, that being look, dialogue, traversal, and combat. But as I said before, these are just my opinions, and you're entitled to your own. And with the game being really only a week away, I'm interested to see what you guys think right now. Are you someone who is not excited for the game in the slightest? Are you dying to get some Batman related content? Or are you on the fence, waiting to see some gameplay from somebody who actually has some thumbs? I will be buying this game day one, and I realize I may regret that later on, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make. I will be covering Gotham Knights content on here, so if you like what you've seen, you can follow me through my Gotham Knights journey, and
hit that subscribe button and smash that like button.
do what you want. Oh, and one more thing, shout out to Very Thick Boy for providing feedback on my video. Appreciate you, man. With that being said, my name is Buckaboy, and it's been an honor. You guys take care.